Good morning, guys. So today, first things first, I'm just going to quickly give this workshop a very good clean just to get rid of that smell of the sleeper wood. It's got a very tar-like, we call it in Afrikaans, creosote smell, and I really hate the smell. So first I'm going to give the workshop a good dusting, good vacuuming, clean it up, and then we will start with Buks' little box. So I hope you have a nice week. Enjoy. There we are, guys. I've swept and dusted as much as I care to. And I just took the dado stack out of the table saw, put the normal blade back in. Replaced the disc on my disc sander. Because the old one was used to its absolute limits. I use what they call feathering disc adhesive from Sandflex to glue the discs to the disc sander. Because it comes off very easy and the glue doesn't stay behind on the disc. So if you have a disc sander, it's something to look for. Sometimes difficult to get, not always readily available, but something to have. Now I've ripped some keyhart down to 12mm thickness, and we're going to start now with Buks' box. I'm not going to do finger joints again, I'm going to do mitre corners, just for a change in scenery. So let's see how that goes. So guys, I just decided I can't get the corners 100% square. On the mitre saw, my mitre saw is not as accurate anymore. So to make sure I can get the 90-degree cut every time, I decided now I'm going to build myself a crosscut sled. It's been many years that I promised myself to build a proper crosscut sled. So let's do that first. I'm going to build it out of plywood, birch ply that I've got a piece here. I think it belongs to Koenraad. I'll ask him first if I can have a piece. And then I'm going to build a crosscut sled. Just to make this type of square up jobs easier. So first things first, guys, I need some rails to run in the track for the sled. And I've cut some Rhodesian teak because it's nice and hard, and I suppose it's nice and stable as well. On the table saw to 19mm because this slot is 19mm. It was a bit stiff, so I took the drum sander, put it through the drum sander and sanded ever so lightly until I get a very nice fit in the track without any deflection. Now I'm going to rip them thinner and then put them through the drum sander again to get them nice and clean, so that I can end up with two pieces, one that can run in each of the two tracks. So I need one for this side and one for this side that we're going to glue under the sled. To lift the pieces of wood a little bit above the level of the tabletop, I just put some coins down, put them down and put them flush to the back side of my table saw top. I've set the fence to the distance I want my blade from the edge of the sled, and then I'm just going to put some super glue all the way down these two. Then I will spray some activator. And then against the fence, I will put on the edge in the back and against the fence on top. I'll put it down, put some pressure and hope for the best. So to make sure the two rails stay where they are forever, I'm going to drill, countersink and screw them to the crosscut sled. So what I've done is I glued up some plywood to make the front and back fence on the crosscut sled. And after that I glued them up, I just put them through the table saw after double checking that my blade is 110% square to my top. Put them through, and the idea is once I'm done, I want to make sure that corner is always 90 degrees to the sled. I suppose it's not so critical, but since we're making one, let's make it properly. I just rounded over the corners on the edges and then give it a bit of sanding, just for aesthetic reasons and to make it more comfortable to handle. What I've done then is put a square on the line I've cut in the sled, and then make sure that the square and my fence lines up. I then made a pencil mark, and I'm just going to glue it with a super glue and wood glue trick. After that is set for a minute or two, I'll screw it from the bottom. Morning guys, a new morning. Yesterday you saw me starting this sled, and this is what I ended up with. My whole idea of this project was building this out of what I had in the workshop. So I didn't have to go to town or anywhere to buy a bolt or a nut or anything. I built absolutely with what I had in the workshop. Lots of guys are going to ask the question, how did I get this square? So in the first place, I first fixed the back rail. Then I've cut a hole through about 2/3 of the way. Put the square on, screwed just one side of the front fence to create a pivot point, and then I've put it as square as possible on the bend, on the table saw as it is now. And then I just took a brad nailer, and on this end I just shot one brad nail into it. I then made a cut, checked for square, and then just tapped it a very little bit because a brad nailer gives a bit. Gave it another shot with a brad nailer, cut again, and I did that until I got a very nice square. If you go look on the internet, there is a method that they call the 5-cut method. There's too much maths involved for me. I hate thinking. Thinking is not one of my strong points, and this gave me a very accurate 90-degree cut. The little knob I cut out of an old leg that was lying here in my scrap bin. So it's a leg like this that I just cut a piece out of, and I made the knob. glued a nut into it, and that's now my stop block for when I need something to be multiple cuts the same size. The only thing that I really concentrated on is that the angle, or in your case if you can see, is that angle had to be very square and in line with this, because I put the tape measure, and this really is, we got it in December and Christmas, you know those crackers you pull apart, this came out of those crackers, and I did double check it with my steel rule. It's actually very accurate, so it's accurate enough for what I need here, and I just glued that on with double stick tape, double-sided tape. I just glued the little tape measure on. So all I need to do now is give it a coat of polyurethane, and I think my fence is done. Of course, on the back I just took a piece of offcut from the fence and I glued an extra piece on the back just to protect my hands for when the blade comes through the back, and to remind me not to put my fingers on this side. So guys, out of the workshop, no extra. The only thing that I had luckily was the T-track. I bought at one stage 3 meters of it, because I still want to do on the Mitre station, I want to do a T-track stock block system. So I luckily had that, and I still have some 2.5 meters left of this. So I have enough left for the project I actually originally planned for it. This little piece just came out of a piece of aluminium angle iron that I had in my scrap bin. That's about it. So I need 2 long pieces of 250 millimeters, because the inside diameter of this box is going to be 225. So I added the width of the miters 2 pieces, and let's cut it and see how good our sled works. As you can see guys, is the pencil line. I'm quite happy with the result. Another one of these. Let's go guys. My way of checking for square, of course with a square is good, but since this is going to be a box and the bottom is all going to be have to be square and flat, I usually take a straight edge, put it up against, and then put them together. So that's the line I'm looking for. And I must say, with a crosscut sled now, the tear out is the absolute minimum. You can also check on the long sides, if I put them square and put them together, that's the finish I'll get. Guys, my way for cutting the miters, I'm going to try and do it on the router table today. It's not my idea. I saw it on a guy's video by the name of Keith Johnson. Please go watch his videos. Immaculate woodworker, that guy. So all I've done is I've taken a piece of scrap, glued on with just super glue a stop block that I put over my piece, and I made sure that the top of my router bit underneath the bearing is the same height as my wood. In other words, that the mitre would be cut full size. Put my fence exactly on the bearing. So I put my piece of wood down, put my little stop block down, and the basics of it is so that the end part here will be to stop it from tearing out. I press the two together. You can also use double-sided tape and glue it together before you cut. I'm just going to quickly cut and show you. And that's the mitre cut. Tear out, absolutely nothing, and it's a gorgeous 45 mitre. Let's see if this is going to work. I'm very happy with the results. The miters are nice and closed on the outsides as well on the insides. and this box is very, very square. So just by double checking that the lengths of your rails and stiles are exactly the same and that the mitres are exactly 45, I'm quite happy with the results. So for stock like this, I will definitely be using the router table from now on. With the table saw, it's not always so accurate.